Hey, Curtis, what are we watching?
Hey, Oz.
What are we watching this week?
This week, we're watching Logan meets The Fate of the Furious, the one with Charlize Theron.
I haven't seen it.
Crossed with Tank Girl.
Oh, Tank Girl, Lori Petty.
With just a bit of the 1985 Harrison Ford vehicle, Witness! This week we're watching...
One word.
This week we're watching Mad Max Fury Road.
Witness me. Oh,
it has nothing to do with the movie.
No. That's okay. That's fair. That's fair. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme and go back and forth with contributions. I am one of your hosts, Oz.
And I'm Curtis.
And we are wrapping up Mad Max May this week with the culmination of the culmination of what's available at the moment.
Yes.
The George Miller franchise Mad Max.
Oh, I've been doing wind sprints up and down my street in anticipation of this.
Oh my gosh. So, well, I guess we could... Last week we gave a quick preview of how we felt and the movie was bad. And this week we'll give a quick preview that this is the exact opposite.
Yes, this is not bad.
You know, this is... This is the scene of Dumb and Dumber when Harry says to Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't do anything more stupid, you totally redeem yourself. So kudos to you, George Miller, on this, because, is this a trip?
Yeah.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this movie I could put in my top 10.
Oh, yeah,
I've never kept like an official top 10, but if I had to, yeah.
Yeah, if somebody were to say, quick, give me 5 of your favorite movies, this definitely would fall into that realm. And Flash Gordon would also fall in that. So as you see, it is. I introduced my film class to Flash Gordon last week.
Flash, do.
Oh, I love that movie. And so, yeah, but Mad Max Fury Road is, I don't know, it's a masterpiece of filmmaking. I was so excited when it was nominated for Best Picture. I didn't care. I knew it wasn't going to win. This wasn't an Oscar-winning movie. I feel anymore, the older I've gotten and the more I've kind of paid attention to that process, I feel like the real honor is being nominated, and then who cares if you win or not?
It's like when District 9 got nominated. It's
exactly.
a great movie, but you knew it wasn't going to win.
Right? Yeah, you just love to see that. Finally, it's getting, the recognition is there. It's not going to win, but it's great enough that we're going to give it attention, and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
You get a genre movie or two in there, something other than like these like masterpiece movies.
Right, the ones that are made specifically for a nomination. And so, I'm knowing you as long as I have, we're probably cut from the same cloth in that. Most of the time, the Oscar winners I'm not that demographic anyway. I'm not.
They're usually not bad.
No. I agree. They're not bad, but they're not one that I'm like, I've got to go see this movie. I'll give them a shot.
Or like multiple viewings.
Right. So, definitely seeing Fury Road in that list, I was like, oh. So, and it did won 6 Oscars that year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I love the movie Marriage. I love Tank Girl. Perfect movie Marriage. And this is the perfect child.
Yes.
From that marriage.
Speaking of Witness Me, one of the great lines in this movie. My wife and I have a dumb thing where wherever she's walking the dogs, and we live in by a couple of ponds, and so there's always geese around. So a couple of years ago, out of nowhere, I'm at work and she texts me a picture of a goose. Yeah. One solitary goose on top of the roof of someone's house, and she captioned it in all caps, "Witness me." So now whenever we see one solitary goose standing on something, witness me.
Right, he is preparing himself for the gates of Valhalla.
Yes, he is, shiny and chrome.
Right. Oh man. Before we get rolling into this, my most favorite tie into this movie that's not really a tie into this movie is the Amazon reviews for there's a baking company called Wilton. They make baking ingredients. They make your sprinkles. They make your cupcake tins. They're just one of those companies. But Wilton has a completely unrelated chrome food spray. And if you get a chance, when this movie came out, scroll through the Amazon reviews of the Wilton chrome food, it's not a frosting, but it's like you would spray a cake with it, and it's edible.
Yeah, like a decorative.
Oh yeah, it's a decorative, food spray, and it's got a chrome finish. And when this movie came out, the fans of this movie completely hijacked the Amazon reviews for that product, and I mean, it's just. Oh, it was one of my most favorite things that came out of this movie was just seeing you got, but then I love it because then you've got genuine reviewers that are in there. Grandma Betty is reviewing this is, I use this for my grandson's birthday cake. And then the next one's I shall ride high on the streets of Valhalla.
I live, I die, I live again.
Exactly. It's just such a. I mean, there are two kinds of people that write reviews for this chrome food spray for Wilton,
yes.
And these are the two: either Fury Road fans or baking enthusiasts, and it will not disappoint.
My niece loved the cupcakes I made for her birthday using Wilton's chrome spray.
Right, mediocre. So if you get a chance, read those reviews because it is a highlight in itself. Quick shout out to Patreon subscriber Don S. Thank you again for your support.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah, we love your support. I know you're a fan of the show, and we really appreciate that. And hope that there might be a time in the future. We've talked about it before. Or maybe because I know you've got your own. Don's got his own podcast, and he's also if we are baby movie reviewers, he's granddaddy movie reviewer. He's the legit thing. But I also know he's an educator as well. So, I think it'd be fun if, sometime down the road, if we could coordinate something, to get Don S. On the show. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So thank you, Don, for your patronage. If you want to support the show, you can always hit up the link below to patreon.com, and we got a couple of tiers. A couple bucks a month or whatever, and throw your name in a podcast and throw you some goodies as well.
Line these pockets.
That's right. They're small though. I'm really talking about my pocket watch pocket at the top of my jeans.
Yeah.
So it's a very shallow pocket. It's a hot pocket.
That little unnecessary keys pocket.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. So that's what I'm talking about.
You can fit one key in there.
A key. So
a key.
I'm going to get into a list of our characters.
Yeah, and let's hear those characters.
I told you pre-show, most of them don't even have their names mentioned in the movie. So we give them a name anyway, just for the credits. And we've talked before, not necessarily last week, but the previous 2 weeks, we've talked about just George Miller's ability to name his characters. And, it's just magic. And so this list is arguably longer than it needs to be, but I wanted to kind of cherry pick some of the best names. Obviously, we've got Max Rockatansky, who I think he's come to terms with his anger. He seems to just kind of be, their Max. Played by Tom Hardy. Not Mel Gibson this time around. Mel is just far too old for the role. I think Tom Hardy
too
did
controversial at this point in his career.
Yeah, I think Tom Hardy did just a fine job as Max. He reestablished the character as a very lesser spoken, quiet savior of the apocalyptic outback. So,
just give me the action.
Right, that's what I'm here for.
Too much talking.
Thank you, the Dev. Yep. So. And then we've got, I'm not going in any particular order here. We've got Knox. played by Nicholas Hoult of X-Men Beast fame, as well as amongst other things. I like him as an actor. I think he's always done a great job. He plays a war boy, a war boy, a cancerous war boy that needs Max as his blood bag. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We've got Imperator Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron. She's the surprise. She's the driver of the war rig on their way to Gastown and Bullet Farm with Mother's Milk, and I just love the dialogue. The big baddie. George Miller redeems himself here, in my opinion, bringing back another memorable big bad. Immortan Joe, played by toe cutter actor from the original Mad Max, Hugh Keys Byrne. So we sing a lot of glories to the charismatic personality of Toe Cutter in the original Mad Max. So to bring him around full circle, it's no surprise that Immortan Joe is the standout baddie in the Mad Max universe. And so, a huge testament to Hugh Keys Byrne and his performance. I mean, really, this is all vocal performance, because he pretty much was head to toe covered with something. We've got his son, his major muscle son, Rictus Erectus.
Rictus!
Played by Nathan Jones. And that's the last of the actor names that I toss out, just because the rest of them were a little... It doesn't matter. I just wanted to name the names. So this next group I call the Baby Mamas. And their names are, in no particular order, Toast the Knowing, the Splendid Angharad, Capable, the Dag, and Cheeto the Fragile. I love it. I picture George Miller sitting at lunch with a slice of toast and a bag of Cheetos trying to come up with character names. And that's where he got Toast the Knowing and Cheeto the Fragile.
Cheeto.
And then 4 more characters I've got here. We've got the leader of Gastown, otherwise known as the People Eater. He doesn't have...
Super gross character. Oh,
very gross character.
Like gross in the best ways.
Yes. Very gross. And he does not have... he's not have a one-eyed or a one-horn, and he's not flying in purple. He's just a people eater.
Quite literally.
Yes. We have the Bullet Farmer. He is the leader of the Bullet Farm. We have the Organic Mechanic, which sounds like a character out of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Actually, all of these sound like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
They kind of do. Yeah, you're not wrong.
The Organic Mechanic, and then the Doof Warrior, who is just your on-screen musical accompaniment.
Yep.
That's all he does. He's a bungee playing, electric guitar, flame throwing baddie.
Flame throwing guitar, double necked guitar.
Yeah, the Doof Warrior. So that's what I've got for my 14 characters, but I think they're definitely all worth mentioning. So, oh boy, let's get into the plot.
Let's get into the plot.
Which you could probably, I'm not going to jump the gun here, but we're going to get into the plot, but does it matter? Does it matter? I don't think so, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of fun, this movie is so much fun, and it just goes. It's basically a 2-hour car chase.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
If you thought the last 20 minutes the Road Warrior was amazing, you ramp that up to 11 and then some.
Yeah, it's George Miller flips the script and he's like, I'm going to give you a 20-minute bathroom break right in the middle, but the rest of it is car chase. So
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So we opened with just a bit of backstory. Most of the Max movies have opened with something, with the exception of the first one. The Road Warrior had a little something. Thunderdome had a little something. So there's mention of the oil wars, the water wars. The Earth has gone sour. Once I was a cop, a road warrior, searching for your righteous cause.
I was waiting for him to throw in a Thunderdome. Once I was a cop, a road warrior, Thunderdome survivor. like he was just quickly summarizing 2/3 of from the prequels of this.
A blaster maimer.
Right. A kid puncher.
Exactly. We then cut to him. So we cut to the action, and he's kind of standing over kind of a cliff.
He's taking a leak.
Taking a leak and waiting for a tiny lizard to run by him so that he can quickly step on it and then eat it raw.
It's still kicking. It's still kicking when he's chewing it.
It's good protein.
Yeah, whatever.
We get a little whisper from a. He has these kind of weird flashbacks throughout.
Yeah.
That kind of, it's him clinging to his humanity. It's what's kind of keeping him going.
Right.
And then he's immediately being pursued, just like that. He hops in his car, he takes off, and then there's several vehicles, and they run him down. He's in the old Pursuit Special, or a version of the old Pursuit Special, and they run him down right away. The car flips, they take him in, so we are cooking right away.
Do you think that like the Pursuit Special is George Miller's like Buick '88 from Sam Raimi's universe?
The Sam Raimi movies, yeah.
It's like, how many times have we seen this car get destroyed over the last 3 movies, and yet there he is, and every time
there it is again.
I feel like every time there's always Max not driving his own car. He always gets it taken, and at some point he looks at the driver and he says, "That's my car."
Yep.
I just
basically, yeah.
Right. And then we see it get destroyed again. But he always seems to, there's just just like camels out in the apocalyptic outback, there seems to be a surplus of these supercharged Pursuit Specials.
So they take him back to the Citadel, which is Immortan Joe's kind of fortress. And he's they have him strapped up, and they are painstakingly tattooing his back.
Oh yeah.
And they basically they tattoo this narrative on him because they don't have computers or anything like that. Apparently they've also run out of file cabinets as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no Office Depot you can run to and pick up a 2-drawer file cabinet.
We don't have room for file cabinets, but we have room for human-sized files.
Yes. So they basically tattoo how they took him in on his back and some basic statistics, including the fact that he's a universal blood donor.
Yeah.
So he has value to these people. Let's see. We get introduced to the War Boys, Oz, this group of albino-looking teenagers, young men who all have some kind of terminal illness.
Yeah.
And they Max escapes. He's running around. He gets out for a moment.
I know.
He ends up on this huge ledge. One of the war boys leaps after him, and you hear him yell, "Witness!" as he careens hundreds of feet down.
Exactly. Like, he's totally fine with the decision he just made as long as somebody's watching him.
Mm-hmm. And they get him, and we cut to the title card. Mad Max and Fury Road burns itself into the screen.
Yeah, as Max is getting wrap a cheesecloth over his face as they're pulling him back into the Citadel, and then the doors close. That's what it looked like to me. It was like, it's like something you'd use to waterboard somebody. Which is probably what quit mocking my cheesecloth.
It's probably Velveeta.
It probably.
I mean, Velveeta's not really cheese, anyways. I can't imagine that that they were taking the time to make cheese.
Yeah, do you even know what a cheesecloth is?
I know what a cheesecloth is.
Of
course I do.
Yeah, it's a thin piece of cottony material that, if you're gonna squeeze the moisture out of something, you would put it in a cheesecloth, and then you could really wring it like a towel, but it's a really thin towel. It's like a really thin pancake. Like a crepe. It's a really, really thin pancake.
Well, you got the TV and the stereo on at the same time. Does it like to party? We then cut to Furiosa walking to her rig. Mm-hmm. She's missing part of her left arm, kind of from the elbow down.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified which part of the arm she was missing.
Cybernetic.
Right. She's missing part of her arm from the shoulder to the elbow, but the rest of it's there.
Yeah. We couldn't save your bicep, but we got the rest.
Don't worry. You can use it. A little awkward to drive.
One T-Rex arm.
It's just kind of stubby.
We were able to save the top half of your arm, but not the bottom half. Your tricep is long gone. Sorry.
You should see how she shoots at that arm, though.
So we get introduced to Furiosa. The War Boys are prepping her this gigantic rig.
Yeah.
This tricked out war rig that she has, a huge fuel tanker behind it, and another fuel pod behind that as well. So I mean, this is like military grade vehicle here.
And she's high up, like she's got the respect and an admiration of like all the war boys. Like she's the boss.
Yeah.
Where we're going, you're the boss.
So she's essentially a general.
Yeah.
For the leader, Immortan Joe, who we meet next. They're kind of his cadre of caretakers kind of prep him, put this sort of body armor on him, strap a mask around him. And Oz, you want to describe how Immortan Joe looks?
Oh my gosh, he looks like he just looks like an old blister. Like he's just like a personified blister. If you took a blister and a bunion off of somebody's foot and turned them into a life-size person, like before he gets all like war geared up.
Yeah.
Like they're like covering him in like talcum powder. Like he's just he's old and he is worn out. But he's still in charge, and so I think it's interesting how too they show all this like nobody in the city, like no one below him like sees all this prep. So to them he's this forceful master figurehead.
This mythic figure.
But all of the preparation that takes to prepare him for the day is quite extensive.
They slap this like sort of plastic, almost like bodysuit on him that kind of goes over his back and torso that has like abs in it, and it's almost it's like a 80s He-Man villain that
I was going to say the same thing.
That like snaps on and off. Yeah.
Yes, if you didn't make that reference, I was going to do the same. That's exactly what I was thinking when you're talking about it. Was like if you're putting
that's scary that we have the same reference point for Immortan Joe's armor.
If you're putting battle armor on He-Man or Man at Arms before you send him out to war. Yeah, exactly the same reference I was going to make. Good, we just saved like 2 minutes of podcast time without me having to say something else.
We meet Immortan Joe's two children, Rictus Erectus, this gigantic like mammoth of a man.
Yeah.
As well as God, what's the other guy's name? It's Colossal Corpus, I think is his name.
Something like that.
A very diminutive man who kind of does that, kind of runs like the day-to-day operations. Is kind of what the impression I get.
It's a Danny DeVito Arnold Schwarzenegger twin thing.
Sure,
going.
Sure.
only Danny DeVito makes this guy look small.
Yes.
and they call him Dad, and I love that. I love that they call him Dad.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just like, go see what's wrong with Dad.
It's like these two boys bickering with their father. Joe speaks to this massive crowd below on a loudspeaker. They rig up spotlights and everything. You know, he is in charge of the water supply, and as we talked about last week with Thunderdome, you go where the water is.
Yeah.
As opposed to the kids from the Thunderdome who are trying to go away from the water.
Yeah, or the people from Bartertown who didn't go to the water. So let's just ignore Thunder Road as being canon, or not Thunder Road, Thunderdome as being canon. It's not canon.
So he orders Furiosa to go to Gastown and the Bullet Farm. He calls on the war boys. You hear them reference Valhalla for the first time. We will certainly get into that a little bit more. And again, then he turns the water on for the masses, just for a moment, just to give them a taste. Furiosa then leaves Gastown. So she's driving on the way, or she leaves the Citadel on the way to Gastown, and she has a couple of vehicles flanking her for protection. And she's about halfway to Gastown, and then she pivots 90 degrees. She takes the rig off road.
Yeah.
So again,
it's a detour.
We're minutes into the movie, and immediately you realize something's up because her protection that's with her kind of like, what's going on? And she's like, it's a detour,
and they're fine. And they're fine with it, like because you're the boss.
She's the general.
Yep.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Joe watches on. We see a little bit behind the scenes in the Citadel. We meet the mothers.
Yes.
Who are providing mother's milk.
Yeah.
Harvesting that, we'll say.
Yeah.
And then Joe realizes something's up when he sees Furiosa drive off the road, and he runs back to this gigantic wall safe, this hilariously oversized wall safe.
Yeah. It's like Bugs Bunny. It's like Bugs Bunny cartoon, like ridiculously.
Yeah, it should have had Acme on it. Yeah,
exactly.
15 feet high, opens it up, and he's expecting to see his 5 young wives in there, who are basically his concubines.
Yeah.
And they're not. And there's basically one caretaker there who's kind of there for them, and she pulls a gun on him, and she's not able to get a shot off before he's able to overtake her. But she tells him, like, they're gone. You can't control them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, as old and I will say fragile. He's fragile, but he's not like incapable. Like, he's whip smart though. Like, there's a couple. Like, there's 2 instances in this movie where he immediately knows what's going on. Like, immediately, as soon as something is like, wait a minute, like in this instance, like, hey, she's gone off road, and he immediately was like, I better go check
Something's
on her.
up.
And
everybody else is, they're not going to question her.
Right.
But he knew something was up. He knew something was wrong. Got a very kind of tactical mind, able to figure those things out very quickly. And so he rallies the war boys. He rallies a war party to take off after her. In the meantime, again, we see Furiosa's on the road, and they're coming across they're driving into enemy territory.
Yeah, hostile territory.
Mm-hmm. And I think that this particular band of bad guys are speaking Russian, so you figure out very, very quickly that these guys are not aligned with the Citadel and Immortan Joe.
No, they're scavengers. I mean, they just even have the look of just like, we're just out here, and like we respect the boundaries of the Citadel, because obviously they don't influence. I mean, it's a huge expanse of a movie, but nothing really feels like it's that far away, you know? So they're close enough they could cause trouble if they wanted to, but I think just, like, Immortan Joe's built what he's got, and it's impenetrable. But when you leave the nest, things change, and so... Yeah.
It's interesting you called them scavengers, because they're literally called the buzzards. Like, that's the name
right, yeah.
that's right. Given to them. Yeah. So the war boys are rallying, and right before they take off with Immortan Joe, we meet Nux, played by, as you said before, Nicholas Hoult, and he's a war boy, but he's dying, and the mechanic there hooks Max up to the front of Nux's vehicle to serve as his mobile blood bag. So he's literally on a pole, suspended from the front of this vehicle.
Awesome.
I know, with this metal face mask on, and this bloodline that's running from Max into the car.
It's like woven through links of a chain, just for that extra stability. Oh, dude's thought of it all.
And so they're on the road, and the Furiosa's rig is engaged by these buzzards group, and they're holding their own. In the meantime, though, this war party led by Immortan Joe in a gigantic monster truck takes off out of the Citadel after them.
It's Gravedigger.
Gravedigger.
Yeah, we try to watch as many movies that have Gravedigger in it.
I almost used Gravedigger in my movie marriage. I went back and forth, like, do I do the Witness reference, or do I end with Sunday, Gravedigger at the Allstate Arena?
No kidding.
We see another vehicle in the war party that's basically has 6 gigantic tom drums on it.
Oh yeah,
and the Doof Warrior in the front. Oh my god,
he's so awesome.
And for our listeners who have not seen this movie, think of a blind albino suspended by wires on the front of this rig surrounded by dozens of speakers with a double neck guitar that shoots flamethrowers.
Extremely vibrant flames. Like,
yes.
it's not in my 3-2-1s, but the color palette of this movie is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous. Knowing that, like, the desert is going to be boring and bland. So we've got to add the vibrance and life. And they nail it. Like, the color correction in the editing process on this movie is just outstanding.
And basically, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Oz, but like the Doof Warrior's job, he kind of directs, he kind of gives cues to the war party,
right?
Both visual and audio, so they can listen to his guitar strumming.
Yeah, because because his tempo changes at different times, and he's definitely the. We've joked before, especially in the Mel Brooks movies, where like the score's playing and then they'll like ride into the scene and see like Count Basie and the band actually playing.
He's playing the piano there.
Right, and it's like
or last week with Thunderdome, Tina Turner had her own saxophone player.
Exactly. And so this is that only on steroids of like he's playing the soundtrack when he's in the scene. There's an awesome score by like Junkie XL that's underneath all of it anyway, and it really is an awesome score. But like the scenes that the Doof Warrior's in, like he's providing this music for the scene, and we see the musician doing it, so we're totally fine with it. But he's just the Doof Warrior this movie is not lesser if he's not there. But it's
just awesomer because he is.
It's extra because he is there. Like,
So the vehicles are pursuing Furiosa's rig, the war rig, and they start shooting up flares, indicating they want backup from both the Bullet Farm and
Gastown.
Yes, and so like. The security team that's with Furiosa is kind of like, what's going on here? And she's like, just keep going. And they're also fighting off the buzzards as well. They take a couple of vehicles out. Nux and his Lancer, whose name is Slit,
because because he inspired the Joker. I mean, you look at Heath Ledger's Joker, who's like, I got these scars. Like slits are like up to the top of his cheekbone, like, and they're like stapled shut. George Miller. I don't think George Miller will ever need Viagra, like ever.
Well, I mean, one of the characters' name is Rictus Erectus.
The dude is just. He was like 70 when he made this movie.
Blood's always pumping, Oz.
I guess.
So they're fending off attacks. Furiosa says, we're going to fang it. We're going to go right through these buzzards. Again, Nux is the first vehicle from Immortan Joe's war party to catch up. And he says, well, the first thing we're gonna get the buzzards off her back, and then we're going to take her down. So they engage with the buzzards. One of the buzzards' vehicles gets an arrow shot off and hits one of the war boys who's on the back of the rig. He takes an arrow through the chest and another one like through the side of his face.
Yeah.
So he's got arrows poking out of him. Went clean through, and you get the first real taste of kind of this dogma almost that the war boys follow. Yeah. They in a sense they kind of worship Immortan Joe in a way. He kind of is their sort of their living religion in a way.
I agree. He's definitely got them. He's got them eating out of his hand. Yeah,
and it's the highest honor. Their sense of enlightenment is achieved if you can die in while serving your duty to Immortan Joe. And in this case, this guy, he's on the verge of death, and you cut back to Nux, and Nux is like, just get up, you could do it. It's like, what is this? He's dead. So the dude stands up, grabs your cooking spray that you mentioned earlier. So he grabs this canister, sprays it all over his face, sprays this chrome spray, covers his mouth and his nose, and you soon realize it's a hallucinogen.
Oh, by far.
So basically, he's dulled his senses and probably almost like an amphetamine. So his heart is racing. He grabs two lances with an explosive tips on each of them, dives off the back of the war rig onto a vehicle, and as he does it, he just yells, he just like swan dives onto it.
Yeah.
He just screams, "Witness me!"
It's just so awesome.
He lands on this car, it explodes. He's gone. This car explodes. It just bursts into flames. And the other war boys are just scream, "Witness!"
Right?
Because again, this is the highest honor. This is the way you can show your devotion to Immortan Joe. You can seek meaning. You can seek enlightenment, actualization by dying for him in the most gruesome, graphic way.
Yeah, it's like you take a kamikaze pilot, and then you just elevate that to where they mentally believe this is my purpose. Like,
yes,
not I'm doing what's best for my country, but I will walk through the gates of Valhalla by doing this. I worship the V8. Like they,
yeah.
I mean, before they even left, they're like praying to the V8. Like they are. I mean, we talked earlier. We're not gearheads by any stretch, but it's like these guys are beyond gearheads. Like this is, they're like Jeep owners.
Yeah. I worship at the altar of the Wrangler.
Right. Do you hear me, Jeep owners? You got nothing on the War Boys.
Slit, who's kind of has this like sort of tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. He just goes mediocre, which is apparently like the biggest insult you could give a war boy is to yell mediocre to them. Furiosa then pulls on the horn with her mechanical arm, which I don't know what it is. It's such a simple little shot, but I just love it.
It's so Terminator-esque, like it's just the T-800 like stop motion, but only like live action now. It's just so cool.
So she lays on the horn, and these 5 brides, these 5 young women, crawl up from this hiding spot they've been in. And so this is what the big hubbub was back at the Citadel that Immortan Joe was freaking out about. So Furiosa has these 5 young women, one of whom is very pregnant, and they are trying to make their escape. So the war boys kind of clear out the rival tribe. The escorts finally realize what's going on with Furiosa, and she starts fighting off her own crew, basically.
Yeah, they turn on her quick.
Yeah, once they realize what's going on. And you see in the distance, Furiosa is driving into the biggest sandstorm that ever sandstormed.
Exactly. Yeah, this is something. Like it's like all the tornadoes are having a convention.
Yeah.
and they're wrecking the party.
Yeah, so she drives into the sandstorm. Like there's other vehicles behind being wrecked left and right. Nux stays on her tail. So he's hanging with her, and again in the sandstorm there are storms within storms. Like, this is one of those movies. It's so hard to describe how visual and visceral it is.
That's just what I was gonna say. It's such a visual treat. The only thing that would have made this scene better is if they were playing that like early 2000s club hit by Darude, Sandstorm. The Doof Warrior switches over, and this is what he's playing.
He grabs a guitar.
War boys, they take their glow sticks.
Glow sticks, yeah. Instead of spraying themselves with chrome, they just crack open a glow stick and just dump it on their face.
Witness me.
How does Sandstorm go? I'm forgetting.
That's right. You start playing catch with an imaginary ball. Oh, George Miller, 4.5 stars for me. That would have been a 5-star. I'd have given you a 6-star if you'd had Darude in your soundtrack.
So Furiosa, she rams her rig into another vehicle, and the vehicle gets picked up.
Oh yeah,
like 50 feet in the air, and it explodes like as it's being swooped up by this tornado. And
it's like,
as you said before, the color palette in this movie, it's really on full display during the sequence.
Yeah, and I love how, like, granted, obviously CGI all over the place, and that's okay because but because they have it like there, it's just they go for it, and like when this vehicle gets picked up by this tornado, like bodies are flying, and like it's like they still paid attention to all the details of like, okay, if we wrecked a real car, what would happen? Well, you'd see bodies flying. Okay, we got to make sure bodies are flying. You know, we can't just assume that everybody's going to stay in the cockpit of this vehicle. And so I love that about this is that, you know, they really make the CGI very believable when you're watching it, especially if you've watched all the other Mad Max movies, because it's like, this is full blown. And it's a mixture too. Not all of it was CGI. There's a lot of practical as well, but it's still just like, man, just I'm running out of like dude adjectives.
Well, and in this film, this is probably a good time to kind of pause and talk about the effects. Most of the, like, even though there was over 2,000 effect shots in the movie, most of them, and I think this sequence was probably an exception, most of them were just to kind of enhance the practical stunts that they already did. You know, such as like removing Charlize Theron's left arm, or just adding to the color palette.
They didn't really just cut that off for the movie.
I mean, she's method.
We saw what she did for Monster. Come on, Charlize.
Yeah. She went full method here. So Max eventually gets loose. So he gets loose again. Nux's car is the only one left. He kicks Slit off the car.
Yeah, because Slit was like they were gonna blow the car up. Like Knox was like he had like basically he's draining all the fuel into the car. Like we're gonna pull in front and we're just gonna blow it up and we're gonna go. And of course Max wasn't on board with that. So
Nux he went full he went full war boy. He sprayed himself with the hallucinogen. He one of those I live, I die, I live again. Right. One of those great lines from this movie that you just feel the adrenaline as you scream these lines. He yells at one point for Max to witness him, like, witness me, blood bag.
Like, you're all I've got. You're all I've got.
Again, because the death doesn't have meaning if you don't have someone there to observe it.
Right. Even though the person who's going to be observing it is also going down with the ship. Whatever.
It's like if a tree falls in the woods, would a dead war boy matter?
Right. Who's gonna yell witness if?
Yeah, exactly. So Max is able. He prevents Nux from basically immolating himself in this vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's how the sequence ends. It ends on such a great shot because Nux is holding a lit flare that he's about to drop in this fuel he's drained. And the vehicle crashes, and the camera, as the vehicle's crashing, it follows this flare through the wreckage until the flare comes to a resting stop.
Yeah, there's your scene cut. You know, there's the end of scene. It's literally it's just a fade to black, but it's the fade out of this road flare. Yeah.
So that's kind of the end of Act 1 in a way.
Yeah.
So we come back to. Max kind of comes around. He's chained to an unconscious Nux, so they both survive this wreck
with the chain through the window of the door. So
yes, so he's chained to Nux. While also having to haul the door itself, which came off the car in the wreck. He grabs a shotgun. He goes to blow Nux's arm off.
Oh yeah, without hesitation. No, he's just this is what he's got to do.
Yeah, of course the gun doesn't fire
because Max has got a long history of guns that don't fire where they're expected to.
So he spots in the distance the rig. So the rig did make it through the storm, but it didn't make it much further past Nux's wreck. And so he picks up Nux over his shoulder, and so he's carrying Nux and this car door towards the rig.
Why didn't he just pull Nux through the window of the door? I mean, obviously, we need the MacGuffin of the door needs to be present for the next scene, but he could have just slid Nux through the door and then you don't have the door anymore. Or himself step through the door. I would have liked to seen that scene. Max trying to figure out how to get the door out of the equation.
Well, you know what it probably was, Oz? The car probably had power windows.
Oh, true.
So the window was up. It didn't have a manual crank for the window.
Clearly didn't think of that.
Yeah. I know you're not a gearhead, Oz, but...
And everybody knows that driver's side doors have unbreakable glass.
Yeah.
Ever since Halloween, ever since Michael Myers shattered the window in Halloween, that filmmakers are like, we can't have unbreakable glass in car windows.
Yeah.
It's not practical.
It all traces back to that scene from Halloween.
There you go. And see, we started this show with John Carpenter. Like, so everything's got to come back to the big JC.
There's a symmetry there. This is our 30th episode, on the way to 30,000, by the way.
Right. We have added 10,000 movies to our expectations.
I think, yeah, with every 10 movies, every time the first number in our episode changes, we up the ante on our end goal.
Hey, it's called building steam. We're building momentum. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move.
As Max approaches the war rig, again, we see the five wives and Furiosa. They're kind of taking a moment to clean themselves off, kind of check out the rig, make sure everything's still intact. One of the wives unclips basically a chastity belt.
Yeah.
Which again just kind of gives the impression as to the conditions they've been living in and the expectations of them.
Her taking that off, I just reminds me of Maid Marian and Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah. With a giant lock on it.
Right. Richard Lewis can't get into it.
Let's see. Max pulls a gun on him. One of the wives kind of goes to gets a a bolt cutter.
Yeah.
And goes to cut it, and Furiosa just tackles him.
Oh yeah.
She just she lays him out like Ray Lewis laying out a scat back.
Yeah.
They have an awesome fight. In which like Nux kind of comes to, and they're like the chain is involved, so like they're getting pulled around everywhere.
Right.
And then we hear the Doof guitar in the distance, so you get the impression that the war party's kind of regrouping, and something's got to happen here. We got to pick up the pace. Eventually, they kind of get their distance. Max punches Nux, gets in the rig, and starts driving off, but Furiosa has it rigged that she's the only one who knows how to drive it. It's got like kill switches and everything.
Right.
And so they get in, and Max keeps a gun on Furiosa, and they start talking about the green place and the many mothers. So you get an idea of where they're trying to go and what what they're trying to escape
from.
And
it's funny because we made fun of the way that the kids spoke last week, and it's almost like that type of language only done correctly. The green place. It's the Never Land, and but it's like this
tomorrow,
right? Yeah, right. And Planet Earth. This is Earth, and it's like George is like, Warner Brothers, get out of my way and let me do this right. And Warner Brothers, by the way, still did this movie, but I think that they learned that you can't harness George Miller.
Just let him go, baby. Just let him go.
His thing. Yeah.
Furiosa realizes the wheels and the fuel pod are locking up. Max volunteers to go clear it out, so he's already kind of starting to show his worth to them. He files the mask off as well. In the meantime, Nux has attacked Furiosa, and the wives kind of pull him off of her and then throw him out. Because he had climbed on at one point.
Yeah, he jumped on the back.
So we cut to Furiosa approaching a canyon, which I labeled in my notes as Beggar's Canyon from the Star Wars movies. It looks very similar to it.
Very much so.
You expect to see Annie in his pod.
Right. Yeah, we got a real sweet pod racing scene coming up. Greg Proops is in this movie too.
That's right. Greg Proops.
He's the voice of the main buzzard or whoever they're talking with.
So they approach this gigantic canyon. Furiosa says she's made a deal for safe passage. And we start to see this slow partnership, this slow trust starting to get built between Furiosa and Max. She tells him, like I'm going to need you to drive the rig.
Right. I think she realizes too. Okay, things got out of hand, and I can't rely on these 5 women to do it. Like they're trophy wives. They're not practical.
They're not equipped to handle that machine. They've never been trained on it.
I would say Zoe Kravitz was probably the closest to the 5. She seemed a little bit more knowledgeable in things, but
toast the knowing.
Yeah, toast the knowing. But she wasn't gonna drive the rig. Like this was. She realized. You're right. I think Furiosa realized that I kind of need this guy.
Yeah,
he's gonna help make this happen.
Yeah, he's capable enough. So it's the only way we're getting through. So they enter this canyon. The gang leader is pretty unhappy because he says, like, you said there might be a couple vehicles in pursuit. There's 3 gigantic war parties coming.
Right, yeah. It's like, this is not what we signed up for.
Yeah.
Because they're all coming to his doorstep.
Yeah, and the deal was for the fuel pod, the extra tank on the back. Right. And Furiosa's like, I'm gonna loosen it for you. Here you go. And they just open fire on her. They look up, they see the war party's closing in. They just open fire. Max starts driving. He does what she told him to do. He doesn't leave her. You know,
yeah, she like hollered out the safe word, and he did what he's supposed to. It just dawned on me. How did Furiosa work out the deal with these people? Like, is she? There's no like, I don't know. Like, it's not in my 3, 2, 1s, but just how did this work out? Because this is off-roading, this is hostile territory. She certainly wasn't going to be able to go there on her own. Now, she did say that she's made trips before, you know. So, and obviously, you're driving a war rig; it's not your first time. But like, when did she get to sit down with this guy to lay out the game plan? I don't know.
Maybe they're in the same bridge club.
You know, this movie's really starting to fall apart for me.
I'm second guessing things.
This is not a thinking man's movie, so quit making me think.
Just enjoy the vroom vroom and the pow pow.
Right.
So they open fire on her. She gets back in the rig, and Max hands her a gun right away. There's no hesitation.
Before that, real sweet scene. Like, her entrance to the rig is, there's a trap door underneath. I'm going to roll under and get in. But, like, they know that trap door's there because one of their guys comes sweeping in and, like, lays down his motorcycle underneath and then grabs her legs as she's trying to climb back up. And it's like, there is not one moment of unawesomeness in this movie. Like, just so.
And I'm sure that really happened. Some guy laid his bike down and grabbed another stunt person by the legs.
Right.
Like, underneath a moving semi.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that this was all laid out, and the stunt actors are the real heroes of a movie like this, for sure.
Yeah. So she climbs back in, and again, Max is holding a gun for her, just waiting. So I mean, they're partners now. Yeah. They have to trust each other. Yeah. And they start opening fire on this motorcycle gang. So it's. The buzzards were in vehicles with like all these crazy spikes on them and everything.
Yeah, like porcupine cars and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it was speaking of Dumb and Dumber, I think it was the Mutz Cuts car just with spikes on it.
I think so. I did see the Mutz Cuts car. The van. Meanwhile, these guys are the Dumb and Dumber moped guys.
Yes, yeah, the mopeds that they trade the Mutz Cuts van for.
Yeah.
So they're driving motorcycles again. An amazing sequence. Like I think you said a couple weeks ago, like you got to watch out when you're in the outback because there's ramps everywhere.
Yeah, like Furiosa accidentally came across a motocross track.
But these motorcycles are just whizzing by. They're jumping over, throwing down like Molotov cocktails as they jump over. One of them is able to lob one onto the front of it. Furiosa reaches over and she pulls a lever in the rig. The cow catcher in the front lowers, picks up the dust, and the dust flies up.
It just blows sand all over the
truck. Something else I read in the trivia, Oz, is that they use some animal noises to lay on top of the rig sounds to give it like almost like like its own like.
Right.
What's the word I'm trying to... Like a biological sense to it.
Yeah.
And it was like whale noises and bear growls is what they used.
Yeah, I'll admit, I have read the trivia for this. I didn't read it after this viewing. But so there's a lot that I know I forgot. There's a few pieces I remember, but a lot that I forgot.
Well,
but
that's I forgot this is like
hundreds
of entries as well.
Yeah. It's that's probably why I know I looked at it and I'm like, I don't have time to read it all today. Yeah. I got to work.
The score in this sequence is amazing. This is arguably my favorite sequence in the movie, just because I love the music so much during this sequence. In the meantime, this group of bad guys, these motorcycle bad guys, they blow part of the canyon. They send some rocks down, so that stalls the war party. However, Immortan Joe's monster truck is able to get over him and maintain pursuit.
Yeah, he just he doesn't even hesitate. He's just up and over.
Yeah, they pick up Nux because Nux had a piece of one of the bride's dresses, so they let him join just as an honor to him.
Yeah.
And because he kind of knows the inside of the rig as well. And so these motorcycle guys eventually give up their pursuit basically after Furiosa and Max take out so many of them. But then Joe's there in the big monster truck with Rictus in the back and his giant flamethrower. So they catch up to him. What's her name? The Angrahan, Splendid Angharad. She steps out of the rig to block a clear shot.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Clear shot of Furiosa, and she, throws herself out there.
Mm-hmm. And Joe won't do it. Mm-mm. He has to, like the whole point. Like he's spending all of his resources. He emptied the war party, like the defenses at the Citadel, to go after these 5 wives.
Right.
They are all that matters to him. And so he refuses to do anything that would harm them. They even yell at Rictus at one point, like knock it off with the flamethrower.
Right.
Eventually, they take out a couple more guys on Immortan Joe's vehicle. The lead wife narrowly escapes getting crushed by a rock.
Oh yeah.
But then slips and falls and is run over by Immortan Joe's vehicle. Went under the wheels.
And he did try to avoid it.
He swerved. Yeah.
Yeah, like he flips the car, and she was the pregnant one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the most pregnant. I don't think any of the other wives are pregnant yet, but she definitely was with child.
Yeah. And before that happened, as I'm talking here, I realized, this kind of gets to one of the themes of the movie, some of the feminist themes of the movie. Like, he's yelling at them, like, that's my property.
Yeah.
And, again, it just illustrates how awful he is and how awful things are and how, women are viewed and what society has become here.
I'm just glad we've come a long way in society today to where we don't feel those ways anymore.
Oh, no, not at all. I see where you're going here.
Yeah.
Yeah, how dare we give women freedom over their own bodies?
Yeah.
As we kind of start the next act here, the wives are kind of consoling, they're consoling each other, consoling Furiosa. Rictus had thrown Nux back on board. So Nux is back on as well, and one of the wives, was it Capable, I think is her name?
Yeah.
The red-haired one comes across him and kind of consoles him. He's just beside himself. Like he has no meaning now. Yeah,
because he'd been given a shot, like I could do it, and and Joe's spraying him in the mouth, like it's yours. Like I will personally walk you through the gates of Valhalla, and it's like just preaching everything that he wants to hear. And then, like you said, he gets his chain caught up and about falls off, and Joe, mediocre. And it's like he did. It just gutted him. Like, I have no purpose. I have no purpose any longer.
Nux looked so happy when Joe was spraying him with the chrome stuff. Like it was just bliss. Is what he was feeling like. It wasn't even like the amphetamines in there. He was just so happy to be recognized.
It's finally happening for me.
His demigod.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happening for me, and then right away it fell apart.
Yeah.
And Joe basically just rolls his eyes and drives off like, poor Nux.
Yeah, poor Nux. We meet the other war parties that have caught up here. We meet the bullet farm guy, the bullet farmer. And
his teeth are bullets. Like,
yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
He just rips a tooth out and loads his gun with it.
Yeah. And we also meet the People Eater from Gastown, who is this enormous, like comic book villain-esque looking guy. Just like the grossest person you could imagine.
It's like, I can't remember the character's name in Blade, the movie, but there was like the big blobby vampire that just kind of oversaw the technology. This is like that guy before he turned into a vampire. Like, the People Eater is just, he's just disgusting.
Yeah. They they try to save the baby.
Yeah.
And
he was
and
perfect
they
in
can't.
every way.
The baby. That's where I was going with the baby perish. And again, it just shows how committed and devoted and blind all these characters are. Rictus is just repeating lines that are being fed to him.
Yeah. Hey, Rictus.
My baby brother. Perfect. He was perfect in every way.
Looks like you're going to have a baby brother. He's perfect in every way. He's perfect in it. It's just
I had a baby brother.
Yeah.
He's firing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a talking muscle.
That's all he is. It's now night. Max lays some mines down to try to slow him up a little bit. And it does. It slows up the party, but the bullet farmer in his, tank car?
Yeah.
I don't know how exactly to describe it. It's like a car, like an elevated car with tank treads on it.
Right. Which makes it very worthy of driving in these conditions. Because they're in
kind of like wetlands.
Yeah,
here.
we're back in the quicksand valley of. You think Max would have avoided
the real villain of the Mad Max movie? Right. Sand.
The sand is back.
So this bullet farmer's they're just spraying bullets up ahead. They're like, watch out for the wives. He's like, I'm just probing.
Yeah.
And he's just spraying bullets. Furiosa grabs this sniper rifle they have, and she puts a high caliber bullet in this spotlight of the vehicle, and the glass shards.
Well, they had 4 shots left, or 3 shots left, and Max shot 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And then she's over his shoulder, and then he finally on the last one it's just such a cool scene because he's holding it and then realizes she's got it, and then she does. She puts this spotlight out in one shot from 700 miles away.
Yeah. and the bullet farmer goes nuts.
Yeah. He goes blind. They're holding a flare right in front of his eyes, and he's like, bring the light closer. It's right in front of your face.
So he puts a blindfold on, and he just starts screaming I am the choir. The archangels are singing, and he's just spraying bullets everywhere indiscriminately.
I kick butt for the Lord. It's the energy he's giving off here.
Basically, yeah. Sand several drop kicks to the zombie face.
Exactly. It's the same area of the world they made the movies in. So no, they didn't make this in Australia, but you get my idea.
Yeah.
New
Set
Zealand.
in the same area. Max grabs a little canister of fuel and heads off into the night and basically blows them up. You don't see it happen.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, it's I gotta go for a potato chip run.
Right. I'll be back.
I would have beef jerky.
I love that they did. I love that they didn't show how he did it, but I would have loved to see how'd you do it, dude?
And he comes back with this sack full of vehicles.
Well,
or weapons, I should say. Weapons.
But he comes back. But he comes back with everything missing. At one point, the steering wheel was ripped off the war rig, so they're using this giant pipe wrench as. Yeah. So he brings back a steering wheel. He recognizes Nux has lost a boot along the way. Brings a boot back for Nux. I've returned with gifts, everyone.
You get a boot and you get a gun.
It's Christmas, Max.
So they end up they slow down the war party enough that they get some distance behind them, and they come across a woman in a cage in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. In the absolute middle of nowhere,
screaming.
Yeah, just help me, and Max just takes a look and says, that's bait.
He just I'm not falling for that one.
That's bait. And he's right.
Yeah.
He was. And so Furiosa gets out and says that I am one of the, was it Vuvalani?
Yeah.
The many mothers.
Yeah, she's saying all the right things. This is where I'm from, and she's dropping all the verbiage that is going to connect with these women, and then they just come out of nowhere. They were ready to ambush.
Yeah.
So the naked lady in the cage starts a tribal calling, and then.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was the tribe that Furiosa was from, and she was stolen as a child from there.
Yeah, her mother was stolen, and as was she, and.
Yeah, by Immortan Joe or Immortan Joe's associates, and she's coming back, and she's bringing these young women with. So that you figure it out. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to the green place. They're trying to catch up with this tribe, this family that Furiosa had, and they tell her, like, there is no green place anymore.
Yeah,
the land went bad.
You drove through it. Like, if you're here, you've passed the green place. And poor Furiosa.
And she's just beside herself. She just doesn't know what to do because this has been her purpose.
Takes off her arm, drops to her knees. Like, it's gutted her. To keep these young women safe, because she is kind of a mother figure in a way to them. Yeah.
Eventually, they decide that they're just going to ride off. They're just going to keep going in that direction, and Max is like, "No, let's go back. We should." Go back.
They offer it. Yeah, because we're going to go. What is it? 70 days. We're going to drive 70 days in this direction. You can go with us. We've got a bike. And it's like, if Max had a libido, like, dude, this is the trip you want to make. But he's like, I'm good, and he was just going to go the other way, but then it does. And then his ghosts are talking to him again, like and he does. He has this. How he caught up to them on the bike, I don't know, but good for him. It's like, why they gave him the fastest motorcycle? Because they went one direction for a while. He went the other direction for a while, and then somehow catches up to him.
Well, they probably took the little moped from Dumb and Dumber as well, because it gets 70 miles to the gallon.
Right. And you could put two people on a bike.
Yeah, this hog gets 70 miles to the gallon.
So he comes sprinting, catching up to him, and he basically tells him, "We need to go back."
Yeah. Like, there's nothing out there but salt and sand, and he says, let's go back to the Citadel. There's water and green there, and it's unguarded right now.
Well, yeah, and I come to this later, but like, Furiosa doesn't get it right away. Like, and naturally Toast the Knowing does, which I love it because she is the smartest of the brides. And then her name is Toast the Knowing. She just knows stuff. So she picks up what Max is laying down real quick. Like, why not? All that's back there is his war pups. If we got everybody out looking for us, it's perfect. We'll just go right back through the canyon, drop, blow it up on the way through, and we're gold. Yeah.
So they do it. They start heading back. They're spotted early the next morning by.
I love this scene. I love this scene where, like you said,
they're just sitting around.
Well, and it's very reminiscent of how when Toe Cutter was watching Max's Shayla swimming in the first one, where it's like we see her swimming from a distance. Very reminiscent of that. Of like, we see the war rig way off in the distance driving through. We see it from the war party's perspective, and they are just like, it's like Immortan Joe's like picking his nails.
He's half asleep.
Yeah, the Doof Warrior is like relaxing on his bungee cords. Like, they're just to the point where, like, we don't know what to do. Yeah. Like, we don't know where they went. We don't know how far. Like, we're just we don't know what to do.
So they basically set up camp for the night, and they're still just kind of waking up in the morning.
It was just such a cool scene. You expected somebody to be like frying sausages or something for the crew.
There's a guy like cleaning the gigantic bulbous foot of the.
Yeah. Oh that was so gross. And it was a war boy doing it. It wasn't one of It wasn't one of the People Eaters guys. Like, there's a war boy. Like, you're like picking the cheese out of the folds of his ankle.
and so Rictus is like, are they surrendering? And the people eaters like, what's going on? And Joe's like, Joe, guys, get tactical mind Joe. Right. He's like, they're heading for the Citadel. It's undefended, and they know it.
Yeah,
and they haul a rear end and get going. It takes like 8 war boys to get the people eater back up into his rig.
And this was and earlier when I made the comment about just how quick Joe was, like, this was the second time. Like, as soon as he saw Furiosa leave the path and realize what she's doing, like, this was like, he sees they're going back and immediately was like, I didn't think of this as an option.
That's what they're doing. Yep.
So it's like, I imagine he's probably very difficult to beat in chess.
Probably. Plays a lot of it. He probably Uno as well. He's probably great at Uno.
He probably is an Uno strategist. I doubtful he's lost a game of tic-tac-toe. I could see him
Never.
as the guy that sets it up to where he always has 2 spots to win in. And then Rictus always loses because Joe probably tells him where to put his O's.
I hit a circle, and I wrote it down.
Go see what's the matter with Dad.
So the war rig's heading back, and these war parties, they go after him, and they go after him hard.
Oh, hard. They catch up quick, too.
Yeah, they do. But you also see that not only do we have the 4 surviving brides of Furiosa and Max, but we got I think seven or 8 of the Vuvulani. So basically these old ladies.
Yeah.
who
Except
were there
for
as
one.
well.
Except for Valkyrie. Valkyrie's like the only young of the crew.
Yeah. Yeah, she's probably about Furiosa's age.
Yeah.
So
long,
she's
flowing
on a
hair, like
she's on a and that actress, by the way, and I forget her name off the top of my head. George Miller was trying to get a Justice League movie going in the mid to late 2000s. And
I didn't know this, but I was going to make a Wonder Woman reference just because that's what she reminded me of.
Yep, this actress, I think Hale is her last name. I'm going to check right now. Megan Gale, Australian actress and model. She was going to be Wonder Woman.
So I honestly didn't know that, but I definitely could see it because I was going to say that if the Vuvani were like the Amazon women, she would be the she would be the Wonder Woman figure of that. But
just the long gorgeous brown hair. Yeah, she would have made an amazing Wonder Woman.
The lasso of truth.
Yep, the invisible jet. She had it all.
The bangles, like it was weird that she kept doing that in the movie.
Yeah.
But it made George Miller. This was just your Wonder Woman movie, wasn't it?
Kept talking about the halls of justice.
Long story short, but this is it.
Yeah. So she's on a motorcycle, but the rest are on the war rig. They've got some set up in the back, some set up on the top.
Yeah.
I love what I think the oldest of the women is up in the cab, and she has this like big bag of seeds with her, and she just kind of as the war party approaches, she just kind of turns to the other ladies and goes, here here they come, girls.
Yeah.
And she cocks her shotgun.
Oh yeah,
oh, it's so awesome.
She's just ready.
Yeah,
she is. No fear at all.
And so they start picking off bad guys. Max goes in the back. They start kind of unhooking part of the tanker because that's what they're going to do. They're gonna unhook the tanker, let it just blow the canyon to smithereens, so they can't chase him through. They take out Wonder Woman. Sadly,
took 2 though. Joe almost got her.
Yeah,
Joe, but she ducked down and missed Joe's drive, and then the people leader, and it just leans over and he's making the war boy steer and just destroys her.
Yeah, so gross.
Yeah. He's like licking his lips when he's doing it too. He's so nasty.
Yeah. Ugh. The war party is like shooting like big hooks at the tanker.
Yeah, they're like
and
harpoons.
They like drop plows down to slow them down. It's so cool the way they did that.
Yeah.
And so Max is hanging off the back of the rig with the bolt cutters, like cutting the chains from these harpoons. It's like in Jaws when they're shooting with the barrels. He can't go under with 3 barrels, not with 3.
Yeah, well, but Max mission accomplished here. He gets the well, and like as he cuts them, like there's so much tension in these chains they go flying back through the windshields of the cars that are attached to him. Like so, by cutting the chains, he's taking out vehicles too.
Yeah. We get introduced to some Cirque du Soleil stunt actors here.
Oh my god, one of my favorite parts of the movie.
They literally hired members of Cirque du Soleil to be on these, I guess, what you could describe as moving poles. Again, for those who are listening, you're missing my motions here, but like a vehicle that has a gigantic, like 30-foot pole on it.
It's like a giant pendulum. Like they're at the top of the pendulum
that like pivots back and forth, and so they drop in. And are able to drop people and drop weapons down on top.
It's so cool because even like the counterweights of these pendulum are these polecats are like car engines. Like just the amount of detail put into all this stuff. Are like, how are we going to make this believable? Well, these are gearheads. We're going to put a car engine on the other end of this. And you're right. They just swing back and forth, taking turns. Oh, so awesome.
They grab Catwoman.
Yeah.
So they got Zoe Kravitz because she's the smallest one, I guess. I don't know.
Have you watched the Batman yet?
I have not yet watched the Batman.
It. Yeah, so good.
So she ends up in Immortan Joe's big monster truck.
Yeah.
Furiosa takes a knife to the side, so she's hurting.
I love the mask of the guy that nailed her too. Like everybody was somewhat. I mean, yeah, they all looked awesome, but still somewhat generic. But this guy had almost like a vacuum sealed black glossy like face helmet thing on, and it's got some red. I mean, he just looks so like terrifying. And he sneaks up, but like you said, he gets her right in the ribs,
shivs her like between the ribs. I think like punctures a lung.
Yeah.
Because she's having a hard time breathing later. Furiosa, despite the fact that she probably has a punctured lung and is just oozing blood, Max goes to fall. He falls off the rig and she catches him with her cybernetic arm. He ends up on the People Eater's rig.
Because he's hanging and they see him and they're trying to run him down, like smash him. Well, Nux is underneath. He's also underneath because he's
he's working on the engine.
He's trying to repair the engine. So he just like kicks Max to where he swings up. Furiosa lets him go, and now he's on the front. Oh, it's just so awesome.
Yeah. So he ends up in the People Eater's car. He grabs the People Eater and uses like his body to like deflect bullets because Immortan Joe gets alongside and he's just unloaded in there.
Safe to say these bullets were not going to go all the way through.
No. Max there was a lot to stop. Yeah,
Max was very safe hiding behind the People Eater.
So that
is it fair to say that I just finished? Is it fair to say I just finished watching this movie this morning, and we're talking about it now, and I want to watch it again?
I do too. I love this movie so much. I've been watching it like little clips on my phone, like while I'm brushing my teeth all week.
Yeah, I just want to watch it again. I probably will this weekend.
I'll probably go watch part of it tonight while I go brush my teeth before bed. It's just such an awesome movie, and I'm leaving out so much from the sequence. Because there's so many things there.
No, but we'd be here all night.
Yeah, basically they end up back in the canyon. The monster truck is in front. The war rig is in the middle, and then the Doof Warrior's rig is behind them. Max ends up on the Doof Warrior's rig. And so he's taking guys out there.
Using Doof Warrior like it is bungee as part of it. Like as a weapon.
Mm-hmm. Furiosa turns to Nux at one point and just like, I'm going to need you to drive.
She's in rough shape.
Yeah, she's in bad shape, but she knows that she has to get onto Joe's vehicle. Otherwise, they're not going to get out of this.
Yeah,
and Joe will make it through the canyon, too.
Yeah. They kind of hatched a plan a little bit where, one of the brides hollers out for Rictus, who's on the back of Joe's vehicle, of like, take me. Like, and so giving the illusion that she's wanting to join, to go back. So, he's helping her across and they just kind of, they trick him into Furio, like, Nux is driving, and Rictus ends up on the front, the hood of the war rig, and like really, it's just so cool. But long story short, Furiosa ends up where she needs to be.
Yeah, she ends up basically alongside of the monster truck, and she basically takes like a grappling hook. It slides it into Joe's mask. And then lets like the chain from the hook get caught in the wheel, and it rips his face off.
Yeah.
It literally just rips his face off.
Which, I mean, I'm curious why, because we saw them put that on him earlier. Mm-hmm. So I know it at least, and we didn't see the whole like mechanism involved, but like we saw them put that face mask on, so we know that it's not like part of his face, but yet somehow it's doing work. The oxygen system, I'm sure, because he's got this like bulbous, breathing apparatus behind his neck, and but it does. It just, she remember me, and I was like, well, yeah, he just started chasing you yesterday.
Yes, I do in fact remember you. That's why I'm out here.
The entire time he's been chasing you down. But rips his face off.
Yeah.
And then
Go
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In the meantime, on the hood of the rig, Rictus is there, and he's fighting Max. And one of the old ladies, I get just one of those little moments. She goes running at him. She just goes, "Big boy!" And she runs at him, and like just takes a swing at him. Oh, it's so great.
And he just like tosses her aside.
Yeah. So Joe's dead, and so they're trying to crawl across. I think they've kind of incapacitated Rictus for a moment.
Yeah, because Max like bashed him in the head with a skull. Found a human skull on the Doof Warrior's vehicle and smashed it into Rictus's head because nothing else was doing it. He was all gassed up on whatever.
Yeah. So Nux is driving the rig. Zoe Kravitz, Toast the Knowing, is driving the monster truck. And everybody gets across to the monster truck except for Nux. Nux is like, "Get over there. I'll jam the steering wheel and then I'll come join you." Rictus comes too. It jumps on the hood of the rig with his bare hands, rips the engine off, holds it over his head, and starts screaming his own name, "Rictus!"
This part here was probably the most obvious like green screen shot of the movie.
Yeah.
But still, it was still awesome. It was just.
I've joked with my wife that like when I died, I want to go out like Rictus goes out here. I want to be standing on the hood of a semi, pull an engine off with my bare hands, holding it over my head, and just yelling my own name, just yelling, "Curtis, Curtis!"
Finding a semi whose engine extends beyond the hood.
Yep, that's how I want to go, Oz.
Well, you'll be here a while, and I'm glad to say that that's true.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would go. Screaming my own name.
I'd rather you start screaming Rictus.
Yeah.
And when you do it, if I'm around, I will yell "Witness."
Witness my sweet movie reference.
When you struggle to rip the engine out of the semi, I'll be sure to yell "mediocre." Just so that you give up and we can continue on our path to 30,000.
Good reference, bud. And so Nux realizes he's not getting out of this, so they get to the Canyon Pass, and he jackknifes it, and he and Rictus go down, and the Doof Warrior's vehicle slams into it, and
explosion,
you assume that not too many of the other vehicles in pursuit made it out either.
Probably not. I don't think their ABS system's probably top notch.
Their driver's side airbag didn't help that one.
Probably didn't deploy, no.
Well, if they had, in Demolition Man, when they get in the accident, that like foam comes out.
Oh, right, yeah. Only if it was that future.
Yeah, instead of this future
of the three seashells.
In every restaurant's Taco Bell.
Exactly. Although this movie would be pretty sweet with Wesley Snipes in it.
It would be, yeah, and Rob Schneider, of course.
Yeah, oh yeah, of
Rob
course.
Rob Schneider is the Doof Warrior.
Yelling, "You can do it!"
Making copies. So we get a couple other little seeds here. I'll start to wrap things up. So basically, in the monster truck, Furiosa's dying. Max realizes he must have like medic training or something. He slides a knife in between her ribs and like reinflates her lung.
Yeah, he's been there. He's a universal donor.
He is, and then because of that, he still has the cord that was hooked up to Nux earlier, and so he gives her a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
They end up back at the Citadel. They show him Joe's corpse. Joe's dead. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And
I know,
gigantic.
Which is very like Wicked Witch-esque, like,
yeah,
yay, Joe's dead.
This big platform lowers down, and Furiosa and everybody, all the survivors get on the four wives. There's, I think, a couple of the Vuvulani are there. Mm-hmm. Max walks off into the crowd. It's time for him to move on.
So Max does.
Mm-hmm. And the platform raises. Furiosa is now the leader of the Citadel. Cut to credits. That's Mad Max Fury Road, folks.
No.
What a great movie.
We've covered some great movies in the first 30 weeks of this podcast. Mm-hmm. and this is probably my most enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me, and I love Big Trouble in Little China and
Young Frankenstein.
Right, love them. Yep. But this one is probably one that if you were to have 30 channels of all 30, like 30 channels, and it's simultaneously all the 30 movies we've covered are on at the same time.
I'm watching this one.
I'm watching Fury Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Sorry, Kurt Russell. We love you, but I think even Kurt Russell would agree. I think he'd rather watch Fury Road than Escape from New York.
So at this point in the show, folks, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we've been talking about, in this case 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. Oz, how would you rate this film?
A++. This gets an A++. That's the final, because it's finals week at school.
Yeah,
so,
it is. The time of this recording.
Yeah, because this movie has an A++, he's excluded from taking the final. So great job, George Miller.
Prestigious right there.
Right, yeah. So how about you? What's yours?
I'm going to rate this. This one's getting 100 gallons of mother's milk.
Mm-hmm. Yum. And I've seen where that mother's milk comes from.
That is a prestigious rating.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We have a new segment.
We have a new segment. We've got a new segment. We call this segment Outside Insight, where we are each going to blindly find a review online of this movie, be it Letterboxd, Amazon reviews, IMDb, wherever we want. A fairly short review, but one that we just find humorous and wanting to share with you. So Outside Insight. This is reviews from other people that we will give credit to as long as credit is able to be given. And if you don't mind, I'll start.
Go ahead.
All right. This is a review off of Letterboxd by Ayo Edibiri. And it's a little longer than I'll probably share, but it reads quick. So she writes, obviously everyone knows this movie is really hard for me to watch. As in 2009, I lost my virginity to the Doof Warrior, who plays the flaming electric guitar. I don't like to talk about it publicly because it was one of the worst breakups of my life. It's just hard and strange. They say you don't really live in LA until you see someone you slept with on a billboard. But what about when the Doof Warrior, who you just lost your virginity to, absolutely slays in Mad Max Fury Road? What then? Where do I live then? Realize I might be getting off topic, but I think this is actually just a testament to how good the film is. I can still watch it, even though someone who I truly cherished and who I thought cherished me back, but ultimately only wanted me for my body, is in it. Everyone else is good too, I guess. 4.5 stars.
Okay, that took a couple of turns I didn't expect, and I
But I read that and I was like, oh, this is fun. So that's what I love about some of these reviews is people are just like, ah. And obviously it's all fictional. The Doof Warrior, ladies and gentlemen, is not a real person. And if it is, he doesn't live in L.A. They didn't film this in the Valley.
Yeah. Mine, I found at IMDb, this person, this is Lee_Eisenberg, posted on Christmas Day 2015. 5 out of 10 stars. Worth seeing for Charlize Theron's performance. Dr. George Miller's Mad Max franchise has been pretty corny since the start. Mad Max Fury Road is about what you would expect. Most of the movie is an excuse for muscular people in weird outfits to go medieval on each other. But I like Charlize Theron's performance as the renegade soldier freeing the sex slaves. As for the main character, it makes sense that they recast Max, knowing what we now know about Mel Gibson. Would anyone want to cast him? Basically, Max Rockatansky is his usual tough self, and Immortan Joe is the average villain. But this movie belongs to Charlize Theron, if you ask me. They should have made Imperator Furiosa the star. Like Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley in the Alien movies, or any character played by Pam Grier, Furiosa is one S-word kicking babe. Watch this movie for her. Pretty ridiculous otherwise.
5 out of 10, huh?
5 out of 10.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I agree with the Charlize Theron part.
Yeah, I guess I don't disagree with that. However, an excuse for muscular people in weird outfits to go medieval at each other.
Yeah, because that's what I thought when I looked at the people eater. So I'm like, look at all the muscles on that guy.
He's got to bulge it out of his feet.
And look at that muscular old lady with the seeds. So, yeah, we look forward to our outside insights each week as we bring some somewhat interesting reviews from other people elsewhere online.
Bring a little different flavor.
Yeah, a little different. So, all right, where are we off to now?
We're at the 3, 2, 1s, Oz. This is where we each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 huff for the movie we've been talking about. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one, I really like. Okay, it's got to be really hard unless you're really good writing dialogue for characters that also give them their personality. Because there's not a lot of acting in this movie. There's a lot of action, but not a lot of acting. And so my first good is the unique personalities that are baked into the dialogue. Joe and his war boys are so Viking-like, and it exudes in their characters. Furiosa, honestly, kind of dumb sounding. When one of the brides gets shot in the leg, and she goes, "How does it feel?" And she just looks at her. She goes, "It hurts. Everything out here hurts." and then at one point she says, "It's the bullet farmers coming from the bullet farm." And then, of course, later on, she doesn't pick up what Max is saying about going back. And then, of course, when she jumps on Immortan Joe, looks him in the eye and goes, "Remember me?" Like, seriously, we've been chasing you for like 24 hours. But just all that's baked into their dialogue. Because there's no acting sequences where people are actually performing. It's all action. And so kudos to you, screenwriters of this film, for baking that personality into their speech patterns. Because it takes a lot of talent. Never tried it, but I'm assuming it takes a lot of talent to be able to write so dynamically for so many different types of personalities. Sure. So that's my first good. My second, I absolutely love the amount of expansive wide shots in this film. It's easy to set the camera, to put a wide angle lens on a camera and shoot, but George Miller did such a beautiful job feeling the scene, whether it be showing how vast the desert is, or simply showing like how far away the war parties are. But they used a lot of wide shots in this movie, and they all were just excellently done. Even some of them were a little closer wide shots, like when that first war boy jumps off the back, with the two with the two bombs on sticks, all the way to just. Even when they decide to turn around and the reveal that the war rig's on its way back and it being kind of a long shot that way. So the amount of expansive wide shots is really, really awesome in my opinion. And my third, I really liked, there was a couple of Mad Max throwbacks in here. And one of Max's kind of dream-esque sequences where his memories are speaking to him. One of the when he falls asleep in the passenger seat of the war rig, and when he comes to, one of the last shots in that little dream sequence was eyes popping out of a skull, which of course is a throwback to the first one. And then when Furiosa is told that that they've gone through the green place, that the ground's gone sour, and like the music really swelled, super over dramatically, but not in the Junkie XL soundtrack, but more like the original Mad Max of just kind of ridiculously over the top swelling of music. And a couple of those, it just made me think back. It was just watching the Mad Max movies in succession over the last month. I probably wouldn't have picked that up otherwise, but watching it as recently as I have, I'm like, I like that. A couple of those little throwbacks there. Plus the one I mentioned earlier where Max is like, "That's my car." Like there's always somebody else driving his vehicle. And so those are my 3 goods. How about you?
My 3 goods. The first one, I'm going to go with the pacing / editing. I mean, this movie just cooks. It just goes. And in all the right and best ways. Yeah. It's just an absolute nonstop adrenaline ride. Again, we're not kidding when we're saying it's basically a 2-hour car chase. There's a few down moments. Right. But that's basically just to catch your breath and just give, just enough plot, just enough exposition, to keep to keep that kind of together, to give it enough clarity there. But
Yeah.
it just goes. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of movies that have that have cuts so frequently, but it works for this.
Yeah.
It adds to the urgency. It adds to the dynamic nature of things, and it's just the flow is so great. My second good would be let's go with the stunts. The stunt work in this movie is amazing. Again, as we said before, I believe there's over 2,000 effect shots, but the effects for the most part are there to just enhance things. They're like most of the stunts were done practically. I know George Miller estimated that about 90% of all of the stunt work was done practically with physical effects and stunt people. I can't even begin to imagine how they pulled this off and kept people safe at the same time, but it just works. And my third one, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna kind of combine a couple here. Probably not fair to either of the things I'm gonna combine, but we're limited to 3 goods with the bit we do.
Yeah, I know it was tough this week.
I'm gonna go with a combination of Charlize Theron and just the feminist themes here. Charlize Theron is amazing in this role, and she gets a lot of credit, duly, well deserved for this movie. But her performance is like you really think she's that character.
Yeah.
But just some of the feminist themes that come up here, and how like the boot on the neck of women, how they're in this film, women are treated as possessions. Their bodies don't belong to them. They're both literally and figuratively the property of the males in this movie, and how the characters in this movie aren't taking it anymore, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to reclaim that freedom, to reclaim their own well-being, to claim their physicality, their bodies, and it's great. I know some circles picked up on that and did not like that about this movie.
Forget them.
Some of the few criticisms this movie took came from certain circles that do not share those kinds of values. But as you said, forget them. This movie's great, and as are the themes in it. Oz, what are your 2 bads?
Real quick, piggyback on one of your goods. I'm sure you read it in the trivia. This is one of the pieces that I do remember from the trivia. Is I think 90% sure it was his wife that edited this movie.
Yes.
That George Miller, he wanted his wife to edit this movie, and she asked, "Why me? Why do you want me to do it?" And he go, when this is editing, especially action movie editing, tends to be a very male dominated piece of the industry, and his answer to her was, because I don't want it to look like a man edited this movie. Mm-hmm. And she ended up winning the Oscar for best editing for this movie, and so I thought that just, even at 70 years old, dude, just ahead of his time, like a master of his craft, just realizing, I want you to do it because you're great at what you do, and I don't want this to look like every other action movie. I want it to look different, and she nailed it.
There's almost like, I don't even know if I'm going to frame it right, but like a sensitivity to the movie that just kind of sits between, just kind of sits right beneath the surface that's there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, they do just enough with the characters to really let you know who they are and how much they're hurting and what they're willing to do. To accomplish what they want to accomplish.
And I'm sure the filming process was absolutely brutal too. I remember when it came out, you read reports of, sorry, I had an alarm going off. You read reports of Tom Hardy just refusing to work with George Miller again. Like, he didn't get it. He hated the experience. It was awful. It was terrible. And then he saw the final cut, and again, props to Tom Hardy, came out publicly and was like, I was wrong. Mm-hmm. I was wrong. I didn't see what he was seeing. I couldn't envision what he was doing. Now I've seen it, and was almost like, bravo. I can't, he couldn't wrap his head around it. And so, that's awesome too, to just see that George Miller in this Mad Max universe just operates on a different plane, and basically just asks people, trust me, and go along for the ride. I thought that was just a cool story too. All right, so my bads. This is ridiculous. I mean, really, bads in this movie. Here are my two. The ghosts that haunt Max aren't really necessary. Mm-hmm. They didn't hurt the film by any means. They were there, and it made sense. Like you said, they tie him to his humanity a little bit. They keep, it lets him know that this is the fourth adventure we've seen Max on. But this is the first time that we've really seen him. We did a little bit in Road Warrior, but this is the first time we've really seen like the memories of what he's been through with him. And I do like the fact that the parts, like the memories that are haunting him, we've not seen those in a film. I like that part. That there's other adventures and other experiences he's been part of, and that there's a group of people that he couldn't save. Because every time we've seen him on film, he's won. He's saved the day. But there are some dark times in Max's life. So that's my first bad, I suppose, is, those didn't like develop into a major part for anything. Yeah. But it's ridiculous to think that there's bad. My second bad, there's just not enough polecats. We needed more. I would have watched another hour of car chasing. So that, I guess that's my next bad, is this movie didn't have enough. Don't get me wrong.
This movie, yeah,
don't get me wrong. It's like the Doof Warrior, where taking him out doesn't lesser the movie, but it makes it more extra. There's nothing wrong with this movie. I'm not complaining that there's not enough. I'm complaining that there's not enough. Like, I want more.
Yeah, what you gave me was so good. Yeah,
I want another helping of this. Mm-hmm. That's how good it is.
There's a great Simpsons moment where the cutting to it, Bart is getting chased by like a junkyard dog, and Homer's trying to distract the dog, so he throws a piece of meat, and it goes directly into the dog's mouth. And then Homer yells to Bart, "Faster, boy! He has a taste for meat now."
That's pretty much
it. It just reminds me of this. Yeah, he has a taste for meat now. I want more.
Yeah.
My two bads, again, this is really, really stretching it for bads.
Right.
It's the opposite of last week, where we were really stretching for goods.
No kidding.
Some of the dialogue is a little muddled, like the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's a lot of dialogue to keep up with, but there's some that's kind of whispered, and Tom Hardy, although Tom Hardy worked in this movie, Tom Hardy kind of does that like mumble dialogue thing. That's kind of become one of his bits.
Yeah, he's kind of gruff and everything.
Yeah, like I'm not the biggest Tom Hardy fan. I don't know. I think he's overrated. I think he works more than he doesn't in this movie, but he kind of does that mumble dialogue thing here. And again, for this, it's part of the character, but yeah, just enunciate maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And my other bad is, I wanted to see more of the Valkyrie Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She died right away, and I did read that she was actually originally scripted to be one of the survivors, but they filmed most of this in Africa, mm-hmm. and she only had a couple of days to be there, and so they had to shorten her
role,
shooting span. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool character. I wanted to see more of her.
Yeah, she was cool.
All right, those are my bads. Oz, what's your
How do you get addicted to water? Like at the beginning of the movie, when all the lessers are there with they're ready with their bowls and their whatever, and Joe turns on the water, but before he does, and then when he turns it off, he's like, "Do not allow yourself to get addicted to water." And I'm thinking, water's pretty important for survival. How do you get addicted to water? I'd like to know what that looks like. Like, oh my God, he's over. Where's your brother? He's at WA. For what? Oh, he's hitting the water anonymous. Again. It's like, just somebody out, like, just bloated. You feeling okay? I'm just bloated. I'm not impaired. I just gotta pee a lot. Like
my name's Curtis. I'm a waterholic. Hi, Curtis.
Well, you're not a real waterholic. A real waterholic would be in the bathroom. Like, you know you have a problem if you go to IHOP and order water by the carafe.
I don't know anyone who's ever done that before.
No, definitely not me.
Yeah. OJ by the carafe.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been to an IHOP. So
Well,
I think the
we'll have
last
to revisit
IHOP.
it. Yeah.
I think the last IHOP I was at is when we met before Comic-Con, back when my kid was a baby.
That's right. I think that was a Denny's. That wasn't an
Oh
IHOP.
yeah,
It was a Denny's.
It was a Denny's.
Even further back, yeah.
Yeah, probably further back then. So
All right.
What's your huh?
My huh is who's manufacturing the ink for the tattoos? Because
It's motor oil.
Because that's a lot of ink they're using to tattoo people up. If you're basically using somebody's entire back as a canvas.
Yeah, it's
Like,
old motor oil.
I mean, they got the Bullet Farm and they got Gastown. I mean, is there like Inkwell someplace?
It's Inkberg.
Inkberg, Ink City,
Right.
Lake Ink.
Inkopolis.
There you go.
And it's flourishing. Like
Ink,
out of all
Ink
the
Heights.
society. Yeah. It's Ink Bluffs. It's over on the cliffs.
Yeah, there it is. So yeah, that's my huh. where are they getting all the ink from?
Right.
I mean, are they just like draining like Bic pens into a like a lunch pail or something?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
They watched back in '96. They watched Fear before the apocalypse, and so they watched Marky Mark give himself a tattoo with an ink pen, and that's what they're like. Oh, that's how we'll do it.
Second straight week with a Fear reference, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we could probably fit it in each week.
Yeah, Mr. Walker. the wrong kid died.
As long as we just avoid a Fear roller coaster tie-in for next month's theme.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Speaking of, here comes the smoothest segue, Oz. We just finished up Mad Max May. What do we got in store next month?
The month of June 2022 brings creepy movies for kids. Last month we took on creepy kids in movies. Mm-hmm. Next month will be movies that are creepy but designed and targeted towards children. So If you are listening at home next week, even though we try to keep everything pretty kids friendly, next month will definitely be a very kids friendly month. My daughter is beyond excited to cover next week's movie, Coraline. That's what we'll be watching next week.
Creepy movie for kids.
Creepy movie for kids. So these aren't necessarily scary movies. They're just darker movies for children. Mm-hmm. So, we're kicking off next month with Coraline. Coraline Jones. I have seen that movie so many times in the past 11 years.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it once, and I'm pretty sure it was in the movie theater. So,
yeah. Oh, it'll be nice for you then. Yeah, I've seen it quite often, and I know I'll be watching it with the family this week. Mm-hmm. So, for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, I am Oz.
And I am Curtis.
Before we even get to... What are we doing? You know where to find us. You're watching us. You're listening to us. Do what you need to do. Hit the social media channels, etc. Okay, now we can do it. For Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you next week.